To help other people at all times. While many of us repeat these words at weekly meetings, for at least one person it provided the foundation to start an association that today boasts more than 500,000 members and alumni in the United States, the Philippines, Australia, and Canada. Its notable alumni include leaders in business, government, science and technology, medicine, and sports. We'll learn more about Alpha Phi Omega, the international service fraternity, and its ties to Scouting America in this edition of Artifact of the Week. Frank Reed Horton was born on July 17, 1896, in Sewickley, Pennsylvania. Prior to the First World War, Horton studied law at Boston University and interned in a Boston law office. When the United States entered the First World War in 1917, Horton joined the U.S. Navy and served as an ensign on the USS Whippoorwill, a minesweeper in the North Sea, where his crew and their sister ship were responsible for protecting the shipping lanes and preventing the loss of valuable cargo and life. To this end, they are credited with exploding more than 1,000 magnetic mines. Due to his legal training and experience, Horton was assigned by the ship's captain to try court-martial cases resulting from young sailors getting into trouble while on leave or during ports of call. Seeing these teenagers making poor decisions and getting into trouble impacted Horton to the point where he said, "I made a firm resolution within myself that if I returned alive, I would try to do two things and do them with all my power. First, do my best to help young people get the right start in life by holding up before them a standard of manhood that would withstand the test of time. Second, and just as important, try to help the nations of the world settle their disputes in a more sensible and legal manner than war." After the war, Horton enrolled as a history student at Lafayette College in Easton, Pennsylvania. During his sophomore year, he attended an American Legion banquet where he met Herbert G. Horton, a fellow veteran naval officer who was currently working as the local scout executive. Though they were not related, they became fast friends, and Scout Executive Horton helped college student Horton register as a Deputy Scout Commissioner and as the Scoutmaster for a local troop. During the summer of his junior year, Horton went on to serve as Associate Camp Director at the Easton Scout Reservation. In scouting, college student Horton found what he was looking for back in the Navy, a code of ideas and values that could stand the test of time in the Scout Oath and Law. He also experienced a level of religious tolerance in the hearts of these scouts that he did not see as easily in other people. Horton said, "Scouts of the Catholic, Jewish, and Protestant faiths worked together in everything at camp, and everyone had an opportunity to worship on the Sabbath in his own way." Horton was also a member of the Sigma Alpha Epsilon fraternity and lived in the fraternity house, where he was surrounded by former scouts who continued to live by the values embodied in the Scout Oath and Law. Now, having both a moral and ethical foundation to build upon and a potential source of members, Horton devised his organization focused on strengthening these ideals and giving its members an opportunity for leadership and service to others. It was Horton's senior year at Lafayette College when he invited 13 of his fellow fraternity brothers, all but one of them former scouts, to join him in this endeavor. Horton chose the name Alpha Phi Omega and the motto, "Be a leader, be a friend, be of service," which translates to the three cardinal principles of the organization: leadership, friendship, service. Horton also wrote the fraternity's ritual. Fellow founding members Everett W. Probst designed the pin and drew the coat of arms. Thane S. Cooley suggested the hand clasp, while Ellsworth S. Dobson and Gordon M. Looney helped write the fraternity's constitution and bylaws. Horton also invited Scout Executive Horton and then BSA National Director of Education Ray O. Weiland, along with Lafayette's president and 3 faculty members to serve as advisors to the fraternity. Lafayette College approved the petition for recognition, and on December 16, 1925, Horton conducted the initiation ritual on the 2nd floor of Brainerd Hall, and Alpha Phi Omega was born. Horton said, "My purpose was to make Alpha Phi Omega an organization for college men who cooperated with all youth movements, especially scouting. I also anticipated that our service program would expand to help people in need everywhere and to do service on the campus of each chapter." Horton's vision of expansion came to fruition on January 11, 1927, when the Beta chapter of APO was founded at the University of Pittsburgh. Horton served as the fraternity's president, then called the Supreme Grand Master, from 1925 to 1931, when H. Roe Bartle was elected as president. During Horton's time in office, a total of 18 chapters were founded across the country. Horton died on August 28, 1966 in Easton, Pennsylvania at the age of 70. In October of 1931, early in Bartle's time as president, the BSA officially recognized APO as a scouting organization. Bartle led the fraternity from 1931 to 1946 as the organization grew to 109 chapters. In the period between 1946 and 1950, APO saw its most rapid growth in the United States with 227 chapters on campuses around the country. 1950 also saw the APO go international when an APO alum from the University of Washington and professional scouter Sol Levy introduced APO during a speech to Filipino scouts. In the audience was a graduate student and Filipino Eagle Scout, Librado Urata. Urata shared the APO story with his fellow Eagle Scouts, and on March 2, 1950, the Alpha Phi Omega International Service Fraternity was chartered at Far Eastern University in Manila. By 1953, there were 7 chapters in the Philippines, and APO Philippines established a chapter at James Cook University in North Queensland, Australia, and APO USA established a chapter at the University of British Columbia in Vancouver, Canada in 2015. From 1925 to 1967, members were required to either be currently registered with or have been previously registered with the BSA in some capacity. This requirement was dropped at the 1967 National Convention. The process of becoming a co-ed organization began in 1970 when several chapters sponsored changes to the bylaws allowing women to join. The measure failed to gain 2/3 support and was rejected. Several chapters attempted to register female members by submitting paperwork with only a first initial and a last name. With the help of a past national president and a board member, B. Hesselmeyer became the first official woman to register as an official member of the national fraternity. The chapter at MIT, well, they had access to a printing press, and they simply printed their own certificates and membership cards for females during this period of time. At the 1974 National Convention, women were allowed to become affiliate members of the fraternity, and in 1976, the bylaws were changed to allow women to become full active members of the fraternity. Despite the inclusion of female members in the fraternity, all members are still referred to as brothers. Maggie Katz was elected as the first female president of the fraternity at the 2006 National Convention. She was re-elected in an uncontested race in 2008. While local chapters plan and execute service projects such as blood drives, tutoring, charity fundraising events, scouting events and merit badge days, campus escort initiatives, and housing construction and rehabilitation projects within their communities, the National Fraternity sponsors service projects such as the annual National Service Week during the first full week in November and the Global Spring Youth Service Day in April. In 2003, APO received Daily Point of Light Award number 2397 in recognition of its members who give unselfishly of their time and energy every day. Members of APO were also credited with cumulatively donating over 300,000 hours of community service each semester. There are a variety of items called the symbols of the fraternity associated with APO. The fraternity's jewel is the diamond, the most precious of all gemstones, representing brilliance, luster, always increasing in value, and as an expression of the greatest gift of love when given. The flower is the forget-me-not, a perennial flower with royal blue blossoms. It is everlasting and always remembered. The 1976 National Convention added the golden eagle as a new fraternity symbol. The golden eagle symbolizes strength, gracefulness, keenness of vision, and endurance. We've all likely heard the story of this sturdy oak tree that grew from a small acorn. Well, the oak is the fraternity's tree, representing members being stately, sturdy, and sheltering. And take a look at this Chanel patch of the fraternity's pen. Now, this is one of the few APO items that we have in the museum collection. When Horton founded the APO in 1925, he had no idea how many members would go on to shape our world. Notable alumni of APO include Reuben Askew, former governor of Florida, William Clinton, former president of the United States, Tom Daschle, former United States Senate Majority Leader from South Dakota, Mike Garrett, Heisman Trophy winner, Bob Love, professional basketball player, James McLaren, former president of Volkswagen of America, Philip Pfeffer, former chairman of Random House, and James Lovell, the former astronaut. While APO is no longer officially associated with Scouting America, the two are still considered partners in service, and you'll find APO in the Scouts BSA Handbook, where on page 438, readers are encouraged to continue their scouting involvement through college connections. A special shout out to Caroline from Troop 68 here in Cimarron for the photo, and to Spencer in San Antonio. Well, that's all the time we have for this week. Join us next time as we continue to learn more about the history of Scouting America through the collection of the National Scouting Museum and Artifact of the Week.